Hi guys, Bobby here. Welcome to Bobby Unplugged, episode 7. I think seven's a good luck number.
It's definitely one of my favorite numbers.
It is.
So
Mine's 3.
3.
Yeah.
3 and 7 make
Yeah.
10. That makes 1 if you add 1 and 0.
Okay.
I love that.
Okay. We'll have to go back and play the tape, and I'll have to understand that 1
Yep.
and
Oh,
0.
there you go.
But today's episode is really about Joe, and it's a life coach. And when I posted on Instagram, a lot of people were saying, "Oh my God, that's so great! I can't wait to know what simple things I could do to make a difference."
Mm-hmm.
And if for you guys that are watching that don't know what a life coach is, I didn't either. Joe is my yoga guy, which he's the most crowded yoga teacher in all of New Jersey. He's amazing. But he is a life coach. Now, what a life coach is different than a shrink is if you tell a shrink what's bothering you, they're like, "Well, why do you feel like this?"
Mm-hmm.
And your approach is more, how can we help and move forward? Is that accurate?
That's right. It's, I think the approach is more holistic,
Mm-hmm.
where we look at you as a whole person of where you are today. We don't necessarily have to go into the past and what your mom did and who said what to you.
We don't have enough time for that anyways.
Well, exactly. But we really look at how do, I'm a high performance coach. So
Right.
how do we get you to a higher level of performance over the long term? And how do you sustain that? And that's what that's what I do with clients.
And so I just want to share some practical things before, I turn this over to Joe. So when Joe first came over and you said, "What's bothering you?"
Mm-hmm.
And, I talked about leaving the brand and what's going on and what are my thoughts? And I said, and also, there's things in my house that were driving me crazy.
Sure.
And he said, for example, and I started showing him little things. And you gave me an assignment and you said, go room by room and write down on one side all the things that are bothering you, draw a line, and then we'll deal with what the solution is. And I found that once I wrote it down, I was okay with it because I knew that there was an action plan. And the most amazing thing, you probably don't even know this, but my couch that drives me crazy on the first floor.
Yes.
And I was telling you about, the pillows drive me crazy. And what you said to me when we were walking around the house, you said, "Okay, wait, what happens on this couch?" I said, "My kids watch TV, my nephews." You're like, "But aren't those good memories?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they are." And I started looking at my couch more fondly.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're going to fix the pillows.
Well, exactly.
Yes. And one more thing. I know I said 2. Since I'm a visual person, your husband came over and as a gift walked around the things that were bothering me, and he took a picture, and then he handed me back these pictures with things that, let me just see if he circled things, and he wrote right on the pictures what I needed to clean out. I never saw anyone do this before. Straighten books, okay? I needed to straighten the books. I haven't done it yet, but I know it's here.
That's
so
right.
This is the practical stuff that made a big difference in my life.
Sure.
So,
Well, I think Bobby, you bring up a great point. On our first meeting, we talked about what I call focal points.
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that are happening in your life at this moment that are actually, that make you really happy? What are the things that are driving you crazy?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we come up with solutions based on just you and I having a conversation? So when I work with a client, I work with them individually, but we come up with a game plan, a map.
Mm-hmm.
And as a life coach, what I do is I actually, knowing who you are, what you do, what you've done for a living, I already know you're a visual person. So if I can present the material to you in a way that you best understand it, then it makes the process really easy. And so then it's, how do I get you to take that information and then come up with a solution to it? It's not about, as a life coach, it's not about me coming up with the solution. It's about me asking you the questions
Right.
to help you.
but there's so much practical information. So right now I'm so incredibly busy and have so many projects and so many things. And if I didn't learn the simple tasks of writing things down and really having a column and what the action plan is,
Right.
I would go out of my mind.
Sure. And I think that's a big problem with people today, is that people keep things up in their head and they don't know how to manage all of the things that are up there because they don't put them somewhere.
Right.
You did such a great job. You had your book on your first day, and if you guys out there don't have a really good way to organize yourself, that's something a life coach can help you with, and come up with a way that's going to work for you as an individual.
And so many people I find are, so busy with work that you don't really think about what could be. And so, I know a lot of people that have, that want to do something. They want to start a company, or they want to just do something on the side. They want to write a book. They want to start a blog. They want something. They don't know where to start.
That's right.
So, I always tell people, stop talking about what you're doing. Just do it. And it's easier said than done. But what advice do you have for people that just are stuck?
Well, this is one of my favorite. I have to show this flashcard, and it looks like this. It says, what's the one thing everybody wants more in the world? And what people want more of is they want more success. They want more happiness. They want
More love.
Right, want more love. They want better relationships.
That's a few things.
Oh, that's right. Did I say one thing?
Yeah.
Oh, well, they want more. That's what they want more of. But they want more of a lot of different things. And so when you think about like what the work that I do with you, or that I do with many people, right? A lot of people want more money. So first, it's about asking the right questions to be able to identify what people want. And like you said, like people want to write a book, but they don't know how to take it from I want to write a book to how do I start by writing a book? And I often say, and actually I spoke about this in yoga class this week, is that I think people struggle with how do they dream? Like people sometimes don't know how to dream because they take a dream and it becomes such a big thing. Maybe it's writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at it as such a big thing, but what we do together is we break it down into very small, manageable pieces.
Which is how I think I've always run my life, because who would ever say, I want to build a giant company?
Exactly.
I did not ever want to build a giant company. I wanted to just start doing these things. And so right now, even reinventing myself, there's so many things I want to do, but how do you take it piece by piece by piece?
Someone asked, how do you get motivated to change, which is what I think that you're saying. How did you motivate to even start the company? And Joe, how do you help people find motivation?
I mean, for me, I get motivated because I get really excited about what can be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'm definitely a glass half full person, where I'm like, oh my God, that'd be so cool if. That doesn't exist. It'd be so awesome if. So I get very motivated thinking that I could do something different or better.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not afraid of failure.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's no failure. If something doesn't work, then just do something else.
That's right. That's right. And look at the success that you've had over the span of your career. When you think about, and to answer that question about, how do I help people find motivation? It's one of the first key words, which is clarity. I help people, right, to understand like what they're clear about in their life and what they're not clear. And then how can I help them through my questioning find the clarity of what they want, and then figure out how to get it. It starts with clarity. Are you clear with what your desires are? Are you clear with what your goals are? And just the act of determining that is often so motivating for people. And then, just like you, Bobbi, with your book, when you had the action that went along with what it is that you desired, it felt really good. That felt motivating for you.
And it felt great to see it all together. It wasn't as overwhelming. And yes, you could kind of knock things off the list. And even my team here, I mean, you've been working with my team.
I have.
And they've been, they're getting to know me, and there's so many things. I just want to know that it's all caught in one place and we're getting things off the list.
That's right. And it goes back to one of the first words I worked with the team, which is the level of clarity that they have with you, because you've got a lot of things going on in your head. There's the creative process that's constantly brewing, which is one of the reasons that I love you to death. I think you're incredible. You're one of the most creative people I've ever met in my whole life. And
I won't tell your husband you said that.
No,
but
don't
he's
tell
pretty
him.
creative.
You guys, he ranks very high.
Oh my God,
too.
he is one of the most talented decorators I have ever seen. I love everything. You should see his office. We're going to do something with him in the office.
Yeah.
But honestly, I would do a collection of home with him in 2 seconds.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He's amazing.
He's
What's
at
his
Mike.
Instagram?
He's michaeladis.com, AIDUSS. So, so there's the creativity piece. But as I worked with your amazing team, one of the things, especially that needed to happen was because they're all, it's a new team. They needed to be clear with what their expectations were, and then how the reporting structure was going to be back to you, because you had very specific things you wanted from them.
Right, and I want everything done. So we're here with Joe, which I can never pronounce your last name. Gandarillas. I always say Joe Garagiola, which people don't even know who he was.
I think
Joe.
he's dead. I don't understand.
Anyway, who is the Uber life coach, yoga instructor, but honestly, a life coach that is here to talk about how everyone out there, not just me or my team who gets to work with him, is able to move forward with their desires.
That's right. And so we hit on clarity. And then, when you really think about it, the other thing that you and I, you and I have a great passion for food and for...
We have the same birthday.
We do.
Which is crazy, right?
It is.
We have the same birthday.
Yeah, April 14th, if you guys want to make a note of it and send us a card. But we... So one of the second keywords for everybody out there that can make a big difference is energy. People, if you're struggling with your weight, if you're struggling with what to eat, that's something as a life coach that I address because, as I mentioned, it's a holistic approach.
It is, right. People don't realize that. And energy, by the way, it's what you feel what you give when you walk in a room. It's what you feel from other people, but it's also the energy in your body from what you eat and how you take care of yourself. And that's the holistic part of it. And I've always believed that the better you feel, the more you could get done.
Right. And, people forget about the basics, like 8 to 9 hours of sleep, drinking enough water, eating green.
That's still my hardest one is water.
Water.
It's still my hardest one.
Lisa's asking, how can you push past mental blocks if they're so ingrained? So that's a good one. It's kind of like breaking bad habits.
Well, if it's smoking, you just quit. And for me, taking breaks from my life, whether it's going on a vacation or even just putting on my headphones and going and walking outside, helps me get clarity, basically.
Yeah, and I think sometimes bad habits need to be replaced with good habits. And so it's about identifying like what the habit is that you want to replace, and then how can your coach, right? That's part of what I do, is really come up with ways to really help people, come up with better and more sustained ways of raising their performance, whatever part of their life that is. And if it's an energy thing, there's a lot of great tips that you and I talked about. And I know a few weeks ago when we did Facebook Live with Lily, right? And she's just incredible, and she taught us some great things in the kitchen that day. And the other place we get energy from is the people around us. So often we take for granted the fact that if you don't surround yourself with positive, uplifting people, it can affect your energy.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes they're relatives and you have to just deal with them. But sometimes you realize that friends that you've been friends with a long time are just very negative.
That's right.
And they're not the ones that boost you up. And I really think, if you surround yourself with really happy, nice people with good energy,
that's right.
It's a much nicer life.
Right. And you could feel it when somebody walks into a room.
Right.
One of the other things, Bobbi, that you and I have really talked about, and it's another keyword, and it's courage. Right? And so there's a lot of people out there who are afraid to step it up. They're afraid to actually speak, their truth. And that's something that people, that are, there's a big fear out there. And it's something I work with people on. I'm curious from you, Bobbi, like when you started your brand so many years ago, like how did you come up with that courage?
Well, it's really funny. I always say one of my best attributes, it's not courage, it's naivete. I've always been so incredibly naive. I just never thought something wouldn't work. Like things always made sense to me, and other people were like, oh my God, you can't start a cosmetics company. The world doesn't need one more company.
Sure.
And I just listened and I didn't pay attention. And so, courage for me is, it's easy. I mean, look, I won't go on a roller coaster. That scares me.
Sure. But
I will pick up the phone and call anyone. I'll do any of those things. And, I love people that take chances.
And so, I'm curious, when you think about, like, your own courage? Like, beside the roller coaster, is there anything else that you're afraid of?
I'm afraid of heights. I've been to some great spas with great hiking, and I realized I just don't like heights. So I don't have an urge to conquer that fear. But here I am at my age, starting a whole new company, and lifestyle company. And guess what? It takes courage. It does. It takes and the world is different now, and it takes determination, and it takes building a great team together. And I'm not afraid of something not working. I'm just, excited about what could be.
Sure. I always think, what is the worst thing that could happen? And we look at all those scenarios. But, one of the areas of courage that I think people really struggle with is courage in their relationships. They really worry about, like, how do I approach a certain situation? How do I ask for something? And that's just,
Right.
I work with couples as well, to really work on the courageous part
Right.
in communication,
Right.
which I love. The other part that I know the team and I have really been working on is productivity. That's another one of the key words.
Right.
And it's really how to get things done. I know you mentioned earlier about things are in your head.
Right.
And I know you had some really good ways of really organizing yourself, Bobbi.
I do, but my problem is that I write down on one pad, and then I'll put on my notes in my phone, and then I'll do another thing. So I need to find more consistency. I need to find one thing and do it the same, because I always think I could do something better. So I always try different things, and I need to stick with one thing, and that's what I'm working on, is more consistency.
Another good question from Charles Gilman. Any tips on not comparing yourself to others?
Well, that's a really good one, because you know what? You can't compare yourself to other people, because then you're going to lose, because you're always going to think people are better than you. I think certainly for me, being in the fashion industry, I realized early on that I could not compare myself to the supermodels. I was going to lose.
Sure.
So it's better to be, I've been saying be who you are for 100 years, but
Love that.
if you are who you are and you're comfortable in your skin, then be a best version of yourself. I mean, don't compare yourself to someone who's younger, smarter, taller, richer. There's always someone, And guess what? Other people are allowed to be great, Charles. That doesn't mean you're not. So be your best self and be who you are.
Yeah, I often ask the question, like, what would your best self say in this situation? And I think that was great advice about, listen, you can compare yourself to other people, but each one of us as individuals, we're all unique.
Right.
And we all have gifts, and there are many things that we can offer the world. It's a matter of understanding what your gifts are. And so often I think that's what's missing, is people don't realize
Right.
the things that they offer the world.
And I'm not saying don't look at other people and how they are, but get inspiration from them. See what you like. Be someone that you want to be better. So look what other people are doing and say, okay, I want to be like that. So I've learned a lot from watching other people. Other business models. Richard Branson, Mickey Drexler. I have so many people that I admire so much that have started these companies and just keep going.
Sure, even some of my mentors, Brendan Burchard, Michael Burnoff, I know so often they'll say, you act as if, you have to often,
Right.
if you want to be that, you've got to embody that,
Right.
and you have to know what you want to embody.
But you've got to be around people that support you, whether it's your husband, my husband, your friend. It's just really important to surround yourself with people that when you're not having a good day and feeling good about yourself, there's someone you could talk about it.
That's right.
So what can these guys do that are watching? What is one thing when they, stop listening to us that they could do that's going to change? The smallest thing that's going to make the biggest difference.
Yeah, I think, kind of going back to what we spoke about in the beginning, which was what is it, like identifying what is it that you really want. So often we just don't put it down on paper, and we have those ideas. So when you can identify the things that you want, and then also what's holding you back,
Right.
so you can start coming up with the action next to it. Just like the simple, get a book, get a journal, start writing things down, and when you're not sure of the action is when you can hire somebody like myself who can help you come up with a plan and a strategic plan in order to achieve your goals.
And if they want to find you, what's the best way? It's Instagram, because his quotes on Instagram are awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I
Yeah.
have a daily quote. You can find me on Instagram or you can find me on Facebook. And if you're on Instagram, I'm at Joe, Joe, Gandarillas, Gandarillas. And I have a quote every single day, no fail. I write those every night or every morning. You know, the last thing that I just want to mention, that fifth one, because I know we promised you guys 5 things, is really influence. You know, it's and you to me are the model of influence because of the influence that you have on the world. And as everyone out there needs to know, each one of us has the capacity to influence people, whether that's at work, whether that's in the world, whether that's with your loved ones and your relationships. And so it's about identifying how you can influence your world in a more impactful way. And it doesn't mean big things all the time. So I'm curious from you, Bobbi, like, because you're a major influence out there for women and men, how did you come about doing that?
I mean, I think for me it's just really simple. I just am myself, and I believe in what I believe in, and I'm actually a very simple person. I like simple things. I want simple things, and when you find what you're comfortable with, you become your best self. And I thank you for everything that you've given me, and we got a lot more work to do. And I feel very blessed.
And I feel equally blessed because the work we do together is impacting a lot of people.
Oh.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you guys. See you next week.